Hey there. So today I'm welcoming Ashana, who is a sound healer, crystal bowl expert, and I'm just excited to get to hear her story and learn about her path. Thank you for coming on here, Ashana.
Oh, thanks, Karen. Thanks for having me.
Sure. So you said before we hit record that you've been doing this for 25 years. So that must have been an interesting start, especially where the world was at 25 years ago. So I'm curious about how you first came across them and learned about them.
Well, I've been a musician for, oh my God, over 50 years.
Hmm.
And I was living in Santa Fe, New Mexico at the time. And a friend of mine, a mentor of mine, gave me a phone call and asked me if I'd ever heard of a crystal singing bowl. And I said no. And she said, these are right up your alley. And I immediately bought one. I didn't even question it. And it arrived 3 weeks later in this gigantic box full of packing peanuts. And inside was yet another box full of packing peanuts. And I pulled out the bowl and I put it on my kitchen table. And I chimed the side of the bowl with the mallet that was in there. And the moment I heard that sound,
Hmm.
I burst into tears. And I said that light had come to live in my house. That was the first thought I had.
Hmm.
And the very second thought that was right on the heels of the first was that one day I'm going to put these into music. And 3 weeks later, I had seven.
Hmm.
I mean, it was a life path. It was a soul calling. I wasn't even aware of it at the time that was going on,
Hmm.
back in 1999 or whenever this was. Um, they just, crystal singing bowls really weren't that heard of. They weren't understood.
Hmm.
They weren't part of most people's lives. But the moment that I heard it, I just said, this is for me. And so seven came 3 weeks, six more came 3 weeks later. And now in this room where you see me sitting, there are 110 alchemy crystal singing
Wow.
bowls in this room.
Wow.
This is my personal collection
Wow.
of personal instruments that get played regularly for both myself, all the recordings that I've done and do. And when I do concerts or meditations or sound baths for people, these are the beings that come with me to do my
That's
work.
incredible. When I first learned about the bowls was I think probably 2010 around there or 2009. And the woman who played them said how people from the crowd would always say it sounds like the universe, like it reminds them of the universe. It's just like this deeper knowing, a familiar sound. So, and that's how it struck me. And I was obsessed with them right away, and I wanted to learn how to play them. It took me a while before I ever got my first bowl and then began playing them. But I remember when she got the alchemy bowls, like that was like a new addition. So the alchemy bowls, can you explain what the alchemy bowls are?
Sure. Alchemy bowls are uh, crystal singing bowls, pure quartz gem silica that has been overlaid and infused with precious gemstones, minerals, and metals.
Mm-hmm.
So the very first alchemy bowls were like rose quartz and amethyst and platinum and gold. And so there was the overlay of the platinum bowls, which I can show you one that's similar right here. You can see with the platinum, you'll see this really beautiful kind of turquoisey, pinky, orangey iridescence.
Mm-hmm.
That's the platinum.
What?
And the gold, there were many original gold bowls. This particular one is one of the very first ocean gold bowls that were made.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see when the bowl goes into firing, it turns the bowl turquoise.
Wow.
So not all gold bowls. There are many different kinds of gold bowls. We have peach ones and yellow ones and purple violet ones, um, orange, right?
Right.
So you can green. So you can see this is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely beautiful. And when the side of the bowl is chimed, particularly with the metallics, you get an even more depth of a ring from the bowl. when it's just a simple gemstone. So oftentimes you'll find alchemy bowls now that let's say they'll be ruby and then there'll be an added alchemy to it, like platinum or titanium or copper or palladium or gold will
Mm.
be also added to the bowl, and it just takes a sound that's there and
Mhm.
just slightly, it's a very, very subtle difference, but just slightly amplifies. And of course, every single one of these alchemies, these precious gemstones, minerals, and alchemies, they each have their own unique signature frequency.
Right.
And because of the nature of quartz crystal, which is to amplify energy, transmit energy, store, contain energy, absorb, and transduce energy, those are the natural characteristics of quartz crystal. And when you add the alchemy to it,
Hmm.
then all that, let's just say energetic information, is now transmitted,
Yeah.
you
Amplify.
know,
Yeah.
and it becomes part of the process for people's experience to have that transformation or shift of energy that happens with the sound of the alchemy bowls.
That's pretty awesome. I know. So like, can you explain to people like, you know, like on a basic level, it's like, oh, you just got to experience the bowls to understand them, you know, like to like come receive the sounds. Like I try to, you know, I mean, I introduce a lot of people to them and I only have the basic clear quartz. I don't have any alchemy bowls, but just to introduce people to that frequency, to that vibration, can you explain why it's helpful for our physical health or emotional, spiritual health to like experience a sound bath?
Well, that's the simplest explanation of
Hmm.
that is when you are in either a sound bath, and you can also experience this through recordings,
Hmm.
right? So it's not limited
Hmm.
to sound baths. A live experience and a recorded experience will give you very similar
Hmm.
results, but the sound bath alive is you have the group energy and
Right.
essence and the
Yeah.
essence of the facilitator that's happening. And in
Hmm.
a recording, you have the most pristine moments
Hmm.
of consciousness literally captured in sound.
Yeah.
And recording gives you the ability to go back to it over and over and over again and work with that sound or that song, you know, in different aspects of your life, you know, for meditation, for sleeping. Sound bath is a full on live experience. You might do that once a week, a couple times a month, once a month, a couple
Hmm.
times a week if you're fortunate, right? So the two of them together are amazing. Now, to answer your question, what happens inside of that is that the body relaxes at an almost unprecedented level
Hmm.
because the vibration of the sound literally begins to entrain all of the molecules, all the fluids in the body, and the sound begins to shift the biochemistry
Hmm.
in the body.
Right.
And we begin to release stress, we begin to release toxins, we shift on a cellular level. So people might experience emotional releases. The mind will begin to quiet down
Hmm.
almost usually within 3 to 5 minutes. You will have the mind, the thoughts, the constant chatter that we are always experiencing. If you're a human being on this planet, unless you're a yogi living in, like all the time, and you're in a constant state of meditation, or you've reached that level in terms of your own personal spiritual development where you can keep that calmness, keep that
Hmm.
centeredness. But, I'm certainly not there. I think that's one of the reasons why I got so many balls. When I first started out, my mind was like all the time. And I had the dickens of a time meditating. So when I met my first bowls, all of a sudden it was like, oh, wow.
Hmm.
I can sit here and play. And what's happening? My mind is calming down.
Right.
My thoughts are calming down. This is really interesting. They just did a colleague of mine participated in a study that was done in New Zealand, and she was approached by a young person who was really struggling in school, and he went and had a private sound healing session with her. And after it, he commented that it was the first time and that he could remember that his mind had actually
Yeah.
calmed down and quieted. And so the National Institute of Health in New Zealand commissioned a study
Hmm.
on quartz crystal singing bowls for mental health for adolescents.
Nice.
And the results were that indeed this had a significant effect on health, stress levels,
Hmm.
on feeling a sense of security and stability inside of themselves, where they don't feel as anxious or worried or concerned.
I wanted to bring it to the high school. I tried to, I emailed the superintendent, but she kind of dismissed me. But I'm like, the kids could really use this, and I ran a class for teenagers and a class for tweens this summer, like a little mini camp. And the tweens were extra reserved. So eventually I just was like, you guys want to play the bowls? And they just loved it.
Yeah.
They just came alive, and that
Yeah.
like it brought them out of their shells. And then I was like, do you guys want me to do a sound healing for you, or do you want to keep doing whatever else? Like the next day they're like, do it for us, do it for us. And they all like grab blankets and pillows and like laid on the couch.
Yeah.
It's the best.
It's so nourishing. It's so
It really
nourishing.
is. When
Yeah.
when my 18-year-old was 8, I brought her to a sound bath, a sound healing with at the lady who, she wasn't my official teacher, but she's who I learned from. And I never actually did a training. I just kind of followed her lead. But when Grace was there, when she was like 8, at the end of the meditation, everyone was so pleased to see a small child there. And at the end of the meditation, she kind of woke up and she was like, there was a huge angel. Everyone's like, oh,
Yeah.
I'd love to hear it from the little kids. So,
Yeah, I've had that happen many, many times in
yeah.
concerts
Hmm.
and sound healing sessions that I've done, big group sound baths with young children in there, and they usually
Hmm.
sleep, and then or they have the most amazing
Yeah,
experiences. So
it's so neat.
they're so sensitive to those multidimensional energies that come in.
Yeah,
When we as humans can quiet down and calm,
right.
there's more receptivity to
Hmm.
be able to connect with them more consciously. And the amazing thing is, like, practically, I would say every time I've done a concert, I've been told this countless times. Literally, they tell me that the entire space gets filled with angelic beings, with light beings, with the ancestors of the people that are there, with their loved ones that have passed on. It's just this, it's like, oh, we're having a sound party.
Yeah.
Everybody's invited. And so they all come. And I've had people, have that wide awake third eye and then can visually see, and they just go,
Yeah.
oh my God, Ashana, they're lined up on the sides of the room. And you
Yeah.
go, yeah, because the sounds are such a beautiful high vibrational frequency.
Hmm.
And when we can gather a group of humans together
Yeah.
and bring their focus in,
Hmm.
and to kind of fine tune intentions of wellness, of wholeness, of hope, of peace, of health, of a sense of safety and
Hmm.
security, a sense of being able to connect with their team in the etheric, with their higher selves, with their guardian angels, with their teachers. We'll just call it the expanded self or the divine intelligence. And when all of that um, begins to be the intention for the room, and everybody, of course, is contributing to that
Hmm.
energy, it just gets amped up to the max. And so
Yeah.
then, of course, in a sound bath, you have this incredible, wonderful, delicious experience, obviously dependent upon the capacity of the
Yeah.
facilitator.
What's the
That's
biggest event
tends to
you've
be
done? Like what's the largest crowd?
2,000 people.
Wow, that's amazing. Cause like, I've been limited to what's in the studio. So when I would go to where I used to go, I think there was like maybe 50 at most, and that was a crowded like yoga room. And
Yeah.
in my space, I can only have like 8 people, at a time. But like what was always cool about the collective experience is that those that are drawn to this are often on that sensitive spectrum where afterwards there's all these reports and like the shared experiences of the different visions and insights. And it's just so magical. It really opens up the magic for people. And no two experiences are the same either, which is always so cool.
No, and what I always tell people is if you come and all you do is sleep through the whole thing, that is
Works.
perfect.
Yeah.
It's probably one of the best sleeps that you're going to have because the
Yeah.
body will go into really deep state of rest.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really matter. Don't it's not necessary to have visions. Oh, I saw Kuan
Right.
Yin here and there were millions of colors and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I mean, don't focus on that. That's
Right.
absolutely not
Right.
necessary. It's really about you being wherever you are in the moment
Mm-hmm.
and allowing yourself to simply rest, relax, and receive. Rest, relax, receive.
Yeah, it's always the best sleep ever after I go to the bowls. And I haven't been on the receiving end. I've just been playing them for the last couple of years because I moved away from where that lady was. And I miss it because it's different when you're giving it. Like it's still a cool experience to give and I still enjoy it, but I'm not able to depart from the wakeful reality as much. I mean,
You
you're
can't and you shouldn't,
present. Yeah, you're
as
still
a
present.
as a
And I didn't
practitioner.
know because like I had one bowl for like a year or two, and then my office closed with 2020, and then I got a second bowl and I played in the backyard, just the heart and the sacral all the time. And then I ended up in a new space and I have the whole set of 7. But I was like, the first time I went to play them, I was like, I wonder if I'm gonna get any cool experiences from just giving it like I do when I'm receiving it. And I was like, oh, I'm still here, but I was still, I still get to experience some of the magic, but it's not quite the same as being on the receiving end of it. But at the end, I'll often channel a message for the people that are there and I'll get like an animal totem. So it still opens that door and shifts the energy, but it's not, I don't get to go for the ride just as much as the people in attendance do. So
No, you have a different one has a different experience when you're facilitating, but that's true with anybody who's facilitating any kind of
yeah, yeah,
energy, whether
yeah.
you're doing a meditation or whether you're working on health and healing, on
Mhm.
guiding.
Mhm.
As a facilitator, we are responsible for everyone in the room, and
Yeah.
we're responsible for holding that energetic container. And I
Mhm.
tell my students that, I have a program, it's called Crystal Bowl Mastery. And
Mhm.
I work with my students all the time on helping them understand how to actually hold and contain that space because it takes quite a bit of awareness and understanding on, how to
Mhm.
hold a space
Yeah.
for 5 people, 10 people, 500 people so that you stay healthy
Yeah.
and you are able to create a very safe container for
Mhm.
everyone that's there, because you have to remember with crystal singing bowls, we're constantly, when the sound is happening, our bodies are in a state of almost constant release.
Mhm.
We're finding a new equilibrium. We're being entrained by these high vibrational frequencies, and we're finding a new equilibrium inside of ourselves. So the body's just like kind of letting go of energy, letting go of, sometimes toxins, letting go of thoughts that are not the most supportive thoughts, thinking. And all of that's kind of going into the ethers. And
Mhm.
so as a facilitator, we understand that, we recognize that, and we have protocols in place on how to manage that.
Yeah.
So those kinds of things are really, really important. So your role as a facilitator in a sound healing
Right.
is very, very different than when you are playing a bowl just for yourself or
Right.
you're receiving it from someone else.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Because you're holding space and yeah, and I facilitate groups and I teach Reiki and everything. So it's like I think I do a good job about keeping it all together. Um, when did you begin toning with it? Was that immediate or did that kind of come after some time?
Well, immediately, because as a musician, I'm a classically trained musician. I
Mhm.
went to one of the top conservatories in New York City, which is where I graduated with a degree in voice.
Okay.
And so as a singer, I was immediately drawn to the sounds of the bowls, and I began working with them, you know, through sounding. So, and I started playing with the sounds. I mean, this kind of stuff just wasn't even done then because nobody was playing with bowls, but I
Mm.
was completely entranced, and I was constantly working with the harmonics of the bowls and my voice to see, what could be created, what sounds could be created, what dimensions would open up acoustically,
Mhm.
because it was so beautiful. They're really fun to play with when that way vocally. So
But
it
with
was more than toning. It was singing and toning and sounding, and it's just, there probably has been nothing that you could do with your voice with a bowl that I haven't done.
That's pretty good. I know, because it was interesting after I got the invite to have you on the show or whatever, the request to have you on the show. I was like looking into your information, and then it like dawned on me later. I think I didn't recognize it at first. I was just like, I just briefly looked at it, and then I was at work with my own song list that I have for my clients who are on the table getting energy work. And I'm like, oh my God, wait, I think this is the lady that like for the podcast. And then I like had to go back and double check my email. I'm like, oh, that's so crazy. I've been listening to you singing a few, whatever songs that I have on my list. And I don't know any songs by name because they're just like, I like them. So I put them on the list. But there's like, I think 2 or 3 that are in there. And I was like, oh my gosh, all this time. So I thought that was
Yeah,
pretty
well,
cool.
I've been recording since 2005,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
lots of albums
Yeah.
out,
Who
and
knows which one I can look and see.
you just never know.
But I just thought that was like pretty neat. I was like, oh, how about that? This has been you have been a part of my healing practice for the last 3 years because that's when I made this song list when I got Spotify. Heart of Gaia. I think
Mhm.
that's
Yeah,
the one that, and then the Embrace.
yeah.
Those are the ones that are at the top of my list. So in that oh, and Soul Merge. So it's pretty cool.
Well, we have beautiful music coming out. Right now there's for everybody who's listening, there's a
Mhm.
beautiful guided meditation coming out called Golden Light, that's out now,
Mhm.
called Golden Light of Healing, which takes you to like amazing places. It's just like profound as a meditation, and we have it
Mhm.
also up on YouTube with this incredible video. So, what I find is that so uh, many times people have difficulty really being able to visualize that healing power, that healing light.
Mhm.
And we put together with Issei Ellsworth, from You Inspire Me Productions in Los Angeles, an absolutely amazing, breathtaking video where you are literally taken straight into the center of the sun. It's what it feels like.
Oh wow.
And the meditation just takes you to this place where you're receiving like an energetic frequency download of that photonic light energy going into all of your cells. It's a very, very powerful meditation, and we have incredible stories about it already. People using it to treat their blood pressure. There's an amazing story about it. One person had beta tested this meditation before we released it, and she worked with it. At the start of it, she had been diagnosed with lymphoma. She had severe hypothyroidism, and she worked with the meditation for 3 weeks solid. But from about the day after she got her diagnosis, and she worked with it every day, multiple times a day, at least morning and night, and oftentimes once or twice in the middle of the day. And at the end of that 3 week period, she went back to the doctor for more tests, and they couldn't find anything.
Wow.
So it's a powerful healing process to go through that.
Yeah,
And
I know that they say that like that'll be the future of medicine. Will be through
yeah,
sound
it was
frequencies.
Edgar Casey made that quote. He said the future of medicine is sound.
That's so neat.
So yeah,
I
so
know a man who had it's called like I can't pronounce it, Julian Barre or something. It's like
oh
yeah, and he was able to overcome that. He's like, yeah, I
yeah.
just played the bowls all the time, and he was able to get better.
Yeah,
It's like,
one of my
so it's
students
amazing.
had that kind of experience, and she did that for herself. She was diagnosed with that. I can't remember the pronunciation for that either.
Yeah,
I can't. If I thought about it, I could remember it. And
right.
she did the same thing, and she worked with sound and frequency to actually shift
Yeah.
whatever it was molecularly in her body. And I'm not saying that everybody can do this. And I think this
Right.
is really important to understand, because sound healing is not the miracle cure. We
Right.
really, really need to understand this. And there's, because it's trending right now,
Mhm.
and everybody's like, oh, sound, sound, sound. And honest to God, I see like, people will take a 2-day course in how to play bowls, and then they hang up a shingle and say, okay, I'm a sound healer. And I'm going, I don't think so.
Mhm.
This is very serious and powerful work
Right.
that has to be done with conscientiousness and skill.
Mhm.
Okay. Skill is really important. So
I've been
when
to
you
I've been to many that aren't very good.
Yes, and it happens, and this is one of the reasons why we started Crystal Bowl Mastery a number of years ago. It
Mhm.
was to train sound healers, specifically sound healers with crystal singing bowls, and the program now is getting a huge bump up, and next year will be even more powerful because it'll be a year-long certification. Oftentimes people mistake the fact that you can have a crystal singing bowl, and because it seems easy to play.
Yeah.
Just because something is easy to play
Right.
does not mean that it's simple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we really have to, my work as someone who is is been doing this and a pioneer in the field.
Mhm.
Um, my work and my legacy is to pass along this to the next 2 generations that are coming up, that are playing bowls or working with sound, because it takes care, it takes attention, it takes consciousness, it takes technique.
Mhm.
It's all of all and those pieces and then some. And then there's the process of, how do I lead a sound bath? How do I work in private sessions with people? How,
Mhm.
my one of my colleagues on our staff is literally an expert at this. She's a registered nurse and part of the American Holistic Nurses Association. She's been doing sound baths for years. She's been one of my senior students. And it's the crafting of, how do you not just hold space, but really understand what's happening for that person that's coming to you, that, maybe struggling with traumatic brain disorder, maybe struggling with ALS, could be working with diabetes, could be working with a coronary condition. It's like, how do we do this for those people? How do we hold that container in a way that we do it with safety, with consciousness, with love,
Yeah.
um, intelligently, you know? So we're about to launch this part of the program where we're going to be teaching our students, exactly how to do that.
And what
So
do you say about people that don't resonate with it or that are like can't handle it? Like, what do you suppose that's about?
I feel that there are many, 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 many amazing modalities that
Mhm.
are available. And if you do not resonate with the sound of the crystal singing bowls, by all means, do not subject yourself to
Yeah.
it. It
Because
is.
I've had people bring a friend and you're like, I even just when they walk in the door, I'm like, oh, like, I'm not sure if this person, like the way this person's energy felt, or I was like, and I had my eye on them during the bowls, during the meditation, and like watching them fidget, and you're like, are they gonna like flip out and like run out of here? So, like I haven't had anybody, but they reported, oh, I was really uneasy. It took me a long, and they're like, yeah, because you never meditated before, you never had energy work, like so it can be foreign for some people. So, what like how do you handle that, or do you have like a checklist for people to be like, don't come if you have, like whatever, like how do you vet people or direct people if maybe they're not the right fit or you suppose that something's up?
Well, first of all, I don't vet people for it.
Yeah.
What happens is that when they come into the space, and I say this generically to anybody that comes into my healing space, or my, one of my concerts, or one of my
Hmm.
sound healing activations, that if at any point in time anything that you are experiencing is making you uncomfortable,
Hmm.
absolutely feel free to quietly walk out,
Yeah.
give yourself some space, and come back when you're ready.
Yeah.
I want everyone to have permission to have their own experience. When I first started doing this, back in like 1999, honest to God, I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was just like wanging away on bowls. And I mean, I would drive people running crazy from the room at that point in time. Because,
Mm.
that there were no teachers for this. There was nothing. I was just kind of making my own way. And I taught myself, I learned, how at that point in time, so this is 25 years ago, oh, my playing is not working. You
Right.
know, there are times we really need to look as practitioners. It's like, how is the way that I'm holding space
Yeah.
not supporting everybody in the room? And we have to like reflect on that for
Mhm.
ourselves. You
Yeah.
know, is my playing not connected? Is or is it really just what's happening for that human? And so,
Right.
pardon me, I'm always reflecting on that. And it's been a really long time since
Mm.
anybody's walked out of anything that
Yeah.
I've
No,
done,
no one's
you
walked out.
know?
Yeah. So no one's walked out, but I could see that they were uncomfortable, but then they in the end had a positive experience. It just was like, you could see that it was like, penetrating layers for them.
Hmm.
So, and other people just slip right in first time. It's as if it's like natural as anything. So for
Yeah,
the,
but
like,
it's
I would say 90% of the time people are, very content and happy. But I just, if someone's uneasy, I'm like, oh, so just like, oh yeah, go let yourself out into the bathroom or to the back hallway if you need to, to get a
yeah, if you
breather.
give people permission to have their own experience,
Right, right,
that's all I think
right.
that's
Yeah,
important. And
yeah,
then they feel safe. If they know that they can leave, then they might not leave, you
right.
know. Well,
Yeah,
if I really need to, I can walk out the door. It's like,
right. Yeah,
maybe I'll just stay.
yeah,
So so it's really how we hold that container.
right.
And when you do have people that have discomfort, um, oftentimes they will come up to me afterwards and say, when you played this particular bowl, I was feeling this, or I felt that, or,
Mhm,
is it okay that I experienced X, Y, and Z when you were playing?
mhm,
And then we have a conversation about that. We really look at,
mhm,
how that affected them and why it might be that they were affected by that. So it's different for every
yeah.
single
I
person.
remember one point, or in one of the first times, or somewhere in those early years, when I had it, and I actually could feel like a bubble burst out of me, almost like my chakra like popped back into regular form, and like whatever was weighing on it like popped out of me. And I was like, oh, I almost like heard like a, like something just got shifted. Like it's the coolest
Yeah.
thing. It's like it's really, such a gift to be able to help shift people that way. And I do Reiki primarily, but I'll tell people come to the sound healing in between sessions. That'll kind of do the same, like it's like a similar work. Like it's energy shifting work, vibrational healing. Reiki is vibrational healing, crystals, oils, it's all in that same umbrella. So if someone doesn't want to come to Reiki once a week, because it gets to be expensive and time consuming, like come to the bowls in between and carry yourself over. It really is a bath, it really does rinse your energy and clear you. So,
Well, actually, what you just said is inspiring to me, because it's exactly the reason that I created Celestial Alignment for Healing, which is something that's coming out next year for
mhm,
me. I spent many years putting this project together because what I wanted to do was to give people that place of the in between the sound baths, the
mhm,
in between the treatments. I felt like there was a really big gap, So yes, you go to your Reiki treatment, and then 4 days later you go to your sound bath. But what
mhm,
happens in all of that time in between? How do we help people stay entrained and can build a consistency of that vibration, either experiencing it through the bowls or through meditation? And I was also really thinking a lot about, not everybody has access to crystal singing bowls. Not everybody has access to Reiki. What about all those people that don't have access to that? And I wanted to fill that gap. And we did. We are. So we started releasing the music, the meditation that I told you about, Golden
Right.
Light of Healing. That's part of Celestial Alignment for Healing.
Mhm.
And then there are several other tracks that are just about to be released, with Benji Wertheimer from Shantala playing on it with me and bowls and vocals. And these are 31-minute tracks that will take you to some of the most phenomenally deep and healing places you have ever been.
Yeah.
They are powerful, they are profound, and they were designed to do this. So you can sit in your bed or your meditation chair and put your headphones on and feel like you're doing your own sound bath.
Nice.
You have that experience. And I picked very specific alchemy crystal singing bowls to deliver very specific frequencies for healing on this whole thing. And then in February, what comes out is the whole of it, which is approximately 3 hours of music and 48 videos. So you can take yourself on a self-guided sound healing course over 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So this is work. This is like a life work, piece of
Yeah.
life work for
Yeah.
me that we did, and I'm super proud of it. There's also, which is really, really amazing, because most people are used to having bowls in the context of really soft and soothing. Well, we did 2 tracks here that are just like power. One is all, I'm strong, I'm healthy, I'm alive, I'm vibrant.
Yeah.
Different bowls running right through that, and the visuals and the video, that everything is like, makes you want to feel alive, like you're jumping up and you're going, yes, I can. And it's all to entrain the mind and body and work on multiple levels with the sound frequencies, everything, like just riding underneath it. So we have mantra, we have meditation, we have affirmation, we have mind movie videos. So when you're watching the videos, you're actually working with the visual of the affirmations, and the imagery is just powering into you.
Awesome.
So it's an amazing course. I'm super excited and stoked about it. So that's coming out in February. But the music is rolling out now. So
And you also
everybody can
said you
listen
have a
to that
book
now.
too?
Yeah, we have a book. It's called Crystal Singing Bowls, The Angelic Sound of Healing, Relaxation, and Spiritual Awakening. It's a bestseller on Amazon.
Nice.
And we just released the audio version of that book this week. And it's beautiful because it's full of crystal bowl sounds and music, and then there's videos inside the book. So when you first get your bowl, you can take it and start to work with it. And there's a whole bunch of resources. But if you've never played a crystal singing bowl, I mean, I have people who have been playing bowls for years, and they said they tell me this, that they've learned more from reading that book than all the sound healing certifications they take.
That's cool. I'll have to get, because I
yeah.
never got any certification.
Yeah, no, you will learn so much from that. I mean, I really poured my heart and soul into that thing to just help people understand. There's topic on sound healing, the history of sound healing. There's the how-tos and where you would be playing bowls in different places, but there's also really deep dives into working with the bowls and the chakra system. And there's some definitely crystal bowl myth busting that goes on in this book, where I just went, no, this the way that you've been told that it is really doesn't necessarily look. So I kind of put myself out there and said, I think somebody needs to finally say some of these.
Like, I guess I'm the one in charge. I guess I have to be the authority on this. Yeah.
Well, I just felt since I've been doing it for so long, and
Great. You had the clout to say so.
I felt like I wanted to say so. I don't know whether I had the clout or not, but I definitely opened my mouth and said it. So,
That's great.
So yeah, so we have lots of wonderful things coming out too.
Yeah. Well, I look forward to checking it out. Thank you for spending time and talking with me. I appreciate it very much. It's nice to get to know you and hear about the bowls and all that good stuff. So where can people get in touch with you if they wanted to look into you?
They could just go to Sound of Ashana
Mhm.
on the web. I have
Mhm.
a beautiful website with all kinds of very interactive website that you can
Mhm.
go in and play around in, and streaming on all platforms: Spotify, YouTube,
Mhm.
Amazon, Apple
Mhm.
Music. Pretty much everywhere.
Right.
That's how to find me. And so it's for Crystal Bowl Mastery for those of you who are really ready to deep dive into the bowls.
Right.
And for those of you who are ready to bring the alchemy bowls into your life, you can call me. We have a beautiful online store
That's
with
awesome.
lots of gorgeous alchemy bowls available. So lots of fun things.
Very cool. Thank you for connecting.
You're welcome. And
See?
I think we sent you a link so everybody listening can receive a excerpt from the book. And I think we're going to be putting the guided meditation as a free giveaway to everybody.
Very good. Yeah, I'll be sure to include it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Ashana.
Okay, you're
Okay.
welcome.
See you. Thank
All
you.
right, my dear. Bye bye.
Bye.